Advocate Badesai, Shri Umranikar, Shri Jogrekar, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I must compliment Forum for Integrated National Security for organizing a discussion on a subject which is of topical interest to all of us. And particularly this subject is very important for the city of Mumbai. And why I say this is that Mumbai is the place which has been attacked the most amongst all the cities in India by terrorists. It's unfortunate and it is still continuing. But now with this changed stance of ours, I hope it will not happen again. It happened in '93. I remember there was a series of bomb blasts and so many people died, almost 200 people died. And one of the blasts took place near the place where I was staying, where my parents stay, at near Plaza Cinema. And I still remember, although we were about a kilometer away from the place where the actual blast took place, but the intensity was so much that all the window panes of our house got shattered. That was the intensity. Happened in 2003, 2006, 2008. So why is it happening? But now, in the last few months, whatever we have done, in September 2016, our special forces went across and carried out a surgical strike by using ground warfare. And subsequently, on 26th of February, our Air Force did an airstrike. And these two incidents are very well known to you. I'm not going to describe them, but I'm here to analyze and tell you as to why did it happen, what is it in it for us, and is it sustainable? What should we do to ensure that this kind of a policy is sustainable? I just want to show you a map of Jammu and Kashmir because many of us are not fully familiar with some of the terms which are used very, very regularly. Just to point out, you see this black line. Okay, I think it's not very clear, but what I'll do is I'll run the mouse on this. You see this black line? This is the international border with Pakistan. However, some of the portion has been occupied by Pakistan, which we call as Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and therefore we have something known as the line of control, which is in pink. And this line of control, as I am showing by this cursor, is 813 kilometers long. On both the sides of the line of control, we have the Indian Army and the Pakistan Army facing eyeball to eyeball. And it's a very, very dangerous place. And beyond that, we have the actual ground position line, which is about 124 kilometers, which is in black. This is the place where we have the Siachen Glacier. So now this is the most volatile area in Jammu and Kashmir. This was just to sort of refresh your mind. Again, another map of Jammu and Kashmir. Basically, again, this is the line of control in blue. And what I've shown here by these triangles and by the squares, these are the places where you have the ISI detachments, the launching detachments of the Pakistan Army, which launched the terrorists into India. This is something which is very well known to the world and well known to everybody. And these are some of the places on which the surgical strikes were carried out. But you can see this all along the line of control. Now this is, you can see a three-dimensional depiction of the Kashmir Valley. You have the Pir Panjal range, which is, south of this is Jammu. Then you have the Shamshabadi range in the north. And then you have the Great Himalayan range, which is here. And then the Kishtwar range, which is in the east. So now all these ranges, when you look at from them inside, you find the Kashmir Valley. So this is the Kashmir Valley. And the terrorists cross these ranges and come into the Kashmir Valley, and that is where all the terrorism incidents take place. This will give you an idea as to how the line of control is crossed and how the people come and what the valley looks like. what was our approach so far? On the left, this picture which I have shown is the border fence which is put along the line of control, and it is also there along the international border as well. But it is more important in the line of control because that is where the maximum infiltration takes place. So what do? You have a border fence, you are patrolling the fence, you have people guarding that fence who are in ambush. So you are basically stopping the terrorists from crossing the border fence and coming into India. So this is the method that we are using. Some of them can still manage to infiltrate and come into Jammu and Kashmir. So they come into the hinterland. And then the next step is those who have managed to come into the hinterland come into a place where we have a series of posts, what we call as counter-insurgency grid. That means that important places you have the posts of the Indian Army and the Indian security forces. So anybody who has managed to come inside, so operations are carried out among these terrorists, on these terrorists, based on the specific information that we receive through our intelligence sources. So this was the basic format that was being followed so far. Stop the infiltration, those who still manage to come inside, because after all the border is very, very long. The terrain is very difficult. The border fence, no matter how well you maintain it, keeps collapsing because of the snow, because of the storm, because of rain, because of the kind of terrain that we have. It's not a plain area. It is mountainous, it is semi-mountainous, it is riverine, all kinds of terrain. So therefore, this is what we are doing. But then, recently there has been a change. So when I saw this subject, I said, let me find out what is the meaning of strategic. So strategic basically, it means that you are directing your effort, whether it is by your weapons, by your forces, or anything that you use. It is against the enemy's homeland. You can call it the heartland. So far, our battle was where? Along the line of control, along the international border, along the basically border area. That is where we were fighting. It never went beyond that. But now, the meaning of strategic is that you must go into his heartland, his homeland. So that is where the strategic shift, as we call it, has come in. So, what is the strategic shift? Basically, we have broken the self-imposed shackles of fighting a proxy war. These were self-imposed. Nobody had told us that you please restrain yourself, don't use Air Force, don't use Navy, don't use this. It was all done by us because we are thinking that we are a peace-living nation and therefore we should not unnecessarily escalate things and carry on, be aggressive with your neighbor. So everything was on our own side of velocity. Then we were defensive in our nature. Now that has changed from defensive to offensive. We never cross the line of control except for firing with your artillery weapons. Whenever Pakistan tries to infiltrate its terrorists, it generally carries out a barrage with their weapons, that is bigger weapons like artillery guns. So once that is done, we also respond. So therefore, these are fire assaults carried out which go across the border, but nobody has physically gone. And the most important part was, we never used the Indian Air Force. You may recall, in 1962, we fought a war with China without using the Air Force. Can you believe it? And 1/3 of your force was never utilized. The Prime Minister then thought that it might escalate the war. That was his wisdom that time. After 1971, we never again used the Air Force. You may recall that in 1999, when the Kargil war was fought, the Indian Air Force was used only on own side of line of control. Again, the same view, it might escalate the war. Nobody had told us, please do so. So how much of a disadvantage we had? So one of the potent arms that we have, that is the Indian Air Force, was never utilized. If you remember this incident which took place on 26th of October, on 27th one of our MiGs was shot down and the pilot was captured. What was the change? We told Pakistan, you better return our pilot to us, and this is not negotiable. Pakistan had said, we want to conduct talks with you, and we said, nothing doing. There will be no talks. So this was a major change. Whereas if you remember, when IC-814 was hijacked to Kandahar, there were negotiations, ultimately we had to give in because of public pressure, and that's an old story. But this time, there were no negotiations. So Pakistan's grand strategy assumes only two steps. They feel that they can carry on with sub-conventional war, and if somebody tries to do something else, then they can always threaten you with a nuclear war. So therefore, between a sub-conventional war and a nuclear war, there is no space in between to fight. This is what their grand strategy was. But we proved it wrong. So this incident on 26th of February, we shattered two myths. One is that Pakistan thought that it had impunity in perpetrating cross-border terrorism, given India's long-standing practice of strategic restraint. So this was what was assumed by Pakistan. कि ये कभी ऐसा काम नहीं करेंगे, they will never lose their restraint. The second myth which we shattered was that Pakistan thought that हमारे पास nuclear weapons है. अगर हिंदुस्तान ने कन्वेंशनल वॉर, आर्मी, नेवी, एयरफोर्स तीनों का इस्तेमाल करके अगर कन्वेंशनल वॉर शुरू कर दी, तो हमारे पास न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स है, इसलिए हम उनको रोक पाएंगे और वो ये लड़ाई कभी शुरू ही नहीं करेंगे. They will never start the war. So this is the second myth which was again shattered. So what is the strategic shift which has taken place? So we have told Pakistan that from here on, the proxy war will not be fought on India's side. It will be fought on your soil. We'll go across. So therefore this 29 September 2016 and 26 February 2019, these were the two major events which actually showed our strategic shift, showed the change in our strategic thinking. Now, why was this shift required? First of all, I must make you understand one issue. After this, when this incident took place, initially there was euphoria, everybody wanted war. Then some people started saying, no, it's not very good. We'll lose this, that, our economy will go down. No, nobody achieves anything by war, and such like things. But what these people, those who were saying this, but nobody wants war. But what you have forgotten, are you not aware that a war is going on every day? Unfortunately, people who stay well away from the international border, well away from the line of control, well away from the line of actual control, are not aware of the fact that since 30 years, since 1989, there is a war going on. Later on, I will show you some statistics and it will tell you as to how many casualties we have suffered. Security forces, civilians, terrorists, the amount of damage which has been done. Look at the people staying on the line of control. I am talking about the civilians. Their children can't go to school because half the time the school is closed. They can't go and till their farm because the farm is next to the line of control where every day there is a firing going on. Their houses are damaged. So their daily life is just disrupted for years together. So there is a war going on. And unfortunately, most of the Indians are not aware of it. It is only, as I said, only when the casualty figures of your own security forces go into double digit that you suddenly realize, oh, there is something very seriously which has happened. Otherwise, if you read the newspapers carefully, every day, 1, 2 of our security forces, officers, soldiers are dying for a country. And this news fights itself on the 3rd page, 4th page, which nobody even reads. So I'll show you some statistics and you will realize how many people have sacrificed their lives. But this is not understood by the nation. So that is why some strategic change in our thinking was required. So our casualties are more than our conventional wars. Almost 5,000 security forces have been killed in the last 30 years and 21,000 terrorists killed. And we have lost a lot of our growth in our gross domestic product because of these reasons. Now look at the soldiers which have been killed in wars. In 1947-48, it was 1104. In the 62 war, and these are the figures which are taken from the Times of India, 3,250. 65, 3,264. 71, 3,843. 71 war, 1157. And Kargil conflict was 522. So totally about 13,140 people have died. Security forces, our soldiers have died during the conventional wars. And this is spread over 72 years, from 47 till now. But if you look at what has happened in the last 30 years, more than half of the casualties we have suffered in only 30 years. So if you just multiply by 2, you will find that we have suffered more casualties than the conventional wars. And this is what is not understood by a common citizen. And that is why I must compliment Prince that, we are actually spreading this message to common citizens who actually matter a lot in national security. Now, some figures of the Jammu and Kashmir casualties in the last 30 years. Only talking about Jammu and Kashmir. We are not talking about what has happened in the left-wing extremism, other areas of India, the northeast and things like that. So you will find that there is a circle you find here, where I have showed the cursor. The highest casualties were in the year 2003, 3,552. And if you take the total, in the last 30, up to 2014, we had 40,742, 472 casualties in these 30 years. So see the amount of people that have sacrificed their lives. Now these are the figures from 2013 to 2017, and this is all based on the figures of MHA, which comes in their annual report which they publish every year. So these are authentic figures. Now look at another aspect. These are the figures of major cities where the terrorist attacks have taken place and how the casualties have taken place. And we just gloss over it, we forget about it. 93, 257 in Mumbai. Mumbaikars are not even aware of it. J&K Assembly, Parliament attack, Akshardham, again Mumbai, Delhi, Mumbai train blast. You remember all those pressure cookers were utilized for this blast in the trains. And Jaipur, Mumbai. It's only the Uri and Pulwama which is actually shaken up the conscience of the nation. So these are the figures of casualties that have taken place in major cities. I have not included Pune in this. Very close by there again, a few years ago, if you remember, German bakery on Jagli Maharaj Road. And people who are innocent, who had nothing to do with terrorism, they were the casualties. So that is why the common man has to know about this. So what was the effect on Pakistan? Pakistan, again you resorted to drama. They took some cosmetic actions. They said they will ban some organizations, and they did ban Jamaat-ul-Dama and FEF. They showed that the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters and Bahawalpur was taken over by them. But again, it was a sham. And other thing which can happen from Pakistan side is, you see, now the Taliban is likely to come into Afghanistan with the US withdrawing and the international forces withdrawing from there. So they have nothing to do. So the Taliban could well be utilized by Pakistan into the Kashmir Valley. Now the whole world was with us to support us. But there was only one country, that is China, which is an all-weather friend of Pakistan. And China is the only country in the world which considers Dalai Lama as a terrorist and Masood Azhar as a spiritual leader. So that is the kind of friendship that they have with Pakistan. And even despite pressure from United States, they still haven't changed their stance. Now, why was this possible? Why did we have a shift in the strategy? Well, the only answer is we require a strong leadership. We must have spine. How do we make it sustainable? Now, is this sustainable? First of all, we must have a counter proxy war doctrine. We should not have any negotiations with Pakistan unless they give us a verifiable proof. I have recommended certain changes in our higher defense management structure. What happens is this Cabinet Committee on Security meets only when there is a crisis. There are really no regular meetings of this committee. This is what must happen on a regular basis, and our service chiefs should be a member of this committee so that our political leadership knows what is happening. If they get information from other sources, they will not really know what is happening. And the most important point is increase of defense budget. I call it defense, not defense expenditure, but I would call it defense investment. Unless we invest in our defense budget, we are not likely to sustain this kind of effort that we have done now. We have nations like Iran, Afghanistan and Bangladesh. Iran was again affected by Pakistan. They also carried out this kind of strikes, terrorist activities in Iran, and Iran warned them that if you do it next time, we'll sort you out. So we must make use of Iran, Afghanistan and Bangladesh to put pressure on Pakistan. And on the economic front, Financial Action Task Force, which is there, we must ensure that Pakistan does not get financial aid from all bodies. And the most important of all, public awareness campaign has to be launched so that the public puts pressure on the government so that the government increases the defense budget and equips our armed forces in the manner that is desired. And our own internal fault lines, we must ensure that we don't fight with each other, on our caste basis or our religion. If we stop that, all these forces which are deployed in the interiors of India can actually be sent to the border. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Jai Hind.